Thank you all.
And we want to give a special thank you to the Board of Commissioners for inviting us to this special event. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now it's picture time.
Come on up to this level. Every level. We got some hiding over here then.
Okay, look this way. On three. One, two, three. Okay.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Good job. I would like to ask the board, before they accept the agenda, is number one is under item 11. I'd like to add a resolution to where the Commissioner District 5 will make an appointment and have a resolution make an appointment to the Council on Aging. And then an oversight on my part at the last meeting. We thought we was approving the minutes of the December the first meeting, and I incorrectly moved to approve the December 15th. So I'm going to add the December 1st meeting back to where we can approve that. So having said that, if somebody will move to approve the budget as amended.
Yes.
Have a motion, District 4, District 2nd, 3. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Next, we're going to have a proclamation recognizing the week of February the 1st to the 5th as Severe Weather Awareness Week. And while Melissa's coming to the podium, Don Ash, who does a super job for our emergency management, just told me that they're watching some snow and ice activity for next week. So we got the El Nino coming through, so he does a good job. And what else can I say?
That's it? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. Tonight we have a proclamation recognizing Severe Weather Awareness Week in Henry County, February 1st through 5th, 2016. Whereas each year Georgians face the threat of severe weather events such as lightning, thunderstorms, floods, flash floods, hailstorms, tornadoes, and hurricanes, all potentially dangerous to life, health, and property. And whereas in recent years, Georgia has experienced record flooding, tornadoes, and wildfires with urbanization and population growth, increasing the potential for these storms to cause destruction. And whereas severe weather events in Georgia have killed at least 352 people, including 2 in 2012, injured countless others, and caused substantial property damage in Georgia. And whereas it is vital that effective public education programs concerning severe weather systems and preparedness procedures continue for the benefit of all Georgians. And whereas Henry County Emergency Management Agency, other departments and agencies of the local, state, and federal governments, along with volunteer and professional associations, The private sector, elected leaders, and news media are committed to informing Georgia citizens about safety and severe weather preparedness procedures so that they may better protect themselves, their families, and their neighbors. Now, therefore, the Board of Commissioners of Henry County does hereby proclaim the week of February 1st through 5th, 2016 as Severe Weather Awareness Week in Georgia and encourages our citizens to become more aware of severe weather safety measures and to participate in the various awareness programs scheduled during the week, such as Family Preparedness Day on Monday, February 1st, and the statewide tornado drill on Wednesday, February 3rd. This is proclaimed the 19th day of January 2016, signed by Chairman Tommy Smith, attested by County Clerk Stephanie Brunn.
Thank you. We recognize Mr. Don Ash.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Most importantly, appreciate the support you provide to our emergency management agency. And here with me tonight is my staff. A lot of times they work behind the scenes, but we have two EMA specialists, Shalita Broomfield, who coordinated our recent winter weather workshop, and we're excited that she was able to generate 100% participation in the winter weather workshop, including all 4 municipalities. Kevin Johnson is our new EMA specialist, and he's actually handling the severe weather month for our agency and has coordinated activities throughout our community as well as our business and FEMA partners. Jeremy Head is our EM coordinator, and he's actually working on a project for active shooter in our community. Thank you for the opportunity that you give us at Emergency Management and the support you provide us as we endeavor to make sure our county is protected in all areas.
Can we get all your people up here and have a picture? Where
Absolutely, sir. Thank you.
Make sure it gets spread around. We'd like to recognize the Henry County Police Department on the 25th anniversary this year. We have a little special.
Chairman and Commissioners, tonight we recognize the 25th anniversary of the Henry County Police Department with a certificate, and we have special guests with us tonight, including former Chairman Jim Joyner and Commissioners Dave Crawford. Who else is here? Nita Spraggins? Okay, those are who's here, and Commissioner Andrew Calhoun is not here, but sends his thanks and gratitude and wishes he could be here tonight, but is unable to. So the certificate reads, this certificate of congratulations is awarded to the Henry County Police Department upon the occasion of its 25th anniversary. The Henry County Board of Commissioners wishes to extend its sincerest congratulations to Henry County Police Chief Keith Nichols and the Henry County Police Department on the occasion of the department's 25th anniversary, which was officially established on January 8th, 1991 by the Henry County Board of Commissioners. And again, those commissioners are here with us tonight and would like to get a picture.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody like to make a speech before we have the picture taken?
Yes. Do you have something to say? Would you like to say something? No, there.
Okay. Everybody was here back then, come on up. Public comment, citizens are allowed to voice county-related concerns, opinions that are not listed on the agenda during this portion of the meeting. All persons wishing to speak for public comments must sign in with the county clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. You must complete the public comment speaker form or you'll not be recognized. You'll be able to address the board for 5 minutes. Do we have any? We have none. Next, we have a request from Mr. Bill Toney to address the board for 15 minutes. So if you'll come to the podium and state your name, please, and you have 15 minutes.
Bill Toney, 1652 Highway 155 North, McDonough, Georgia. I'd like to speak about the agreement between the Henry County and the cotton fields, between Henry County and Jerry Swiniker, his management team. You guys blow my mind that y'all have an agreement as sideways as this thing is. You have your attorney to turn it over to you, and y'all don't even read it. I really don't think one of you read it. If you did read it, then you're in the wrong business. I'm telling you, this is the weirdest contract I've ever seen. We're actually losing money on the golf course, and Swinikers are making $17,000 a month. We've lost $53,603.58 in 5 months. They've walked away with $85,000. Do y'all really feel like you're doing the public just on this kind of stuff? Mr. Barham, you're my commissioner. I'm asking you, did you read it before you signed off on it? You can answer it. I won't hold you no more than 15 minutes.
Would you address this question? We still in negotiations with the golf course.
Yes, Your Honor. Board, I was instructed, and I've met with the Swiningers, and obviously there were a couple of issues that were presented that I think is going to be renegotiated. They indicated a willingness to take a look at the contract again. The attorney is working on some simplified language that may help clarify some of the issues that were out there, but it's my expectations that there will be another kind of negotiations necessary for us to continue on.
I asked you a yes or no question.
The agreement.
Did you read this before you signed off on it?
The agreement, the resolution that we voted on was not the one that was signed.
According to this, it was. Now, I've got the agreement right here, and every one of you guys signed off on it. To me, the one that won on this deal was the Swinigers. All right, and the agreement, they got a 10-year, was a 120-month deal at $17,000 a month. They have, as far as I could read in this, I'm not an attorney, but as far as I could read in this, all they got to do is show up and operate the place, and then they're not responsible for profits. They're not responsible really for a whole lot. And I didn't understand how you got some votes that you do with the Board of Commissioners, then you got some votes with Henry County Office and Industrial Park Incorporated. I've never heard of that in my life. Did you guys even know that y'all were on the board, that y'all are the board there? I never even heard of it, and I've been around all of it. I didn't know anything about it. What I think is, I think y'all dropped the ball, every one of you. I think your county attorney really dropped the ball and dropped it $2 million worth. I think he's a good old boy, but I don't think much of him as an attorney with this one right here. And I just found out through an email that he was even warned about it. The finance department warned him about it, and back in April the 20th. So I'll be honest with you. I think the previous attorney that we had, I really believe that she would have caught it. I don't think, I've read hundreds and hundreds of her emails, and I really believe that she would have caught it. We've got the golf course. I've seen the losses on it, and actually the Swiningers, they lost money with the golf course too. But what can we do with it? I've made suggestions to Blake Prince that we sell off pieces of it. We go to try to put it on the market for office complexes and everything else. And he proceeded to tell me how I didn't know anything about property. I've got 14 properties, rental properties. I make good profit every year on it, and I'm trying to tell him, and he tells me about how dumb I am about properties, that it can't be sold. I don't believe my vocabulary can't just don't happen. I don't believe that you ever say can't. You say you couldn't do it. You can't never got anything done. And I tell you what, you guys really, really need to be looking at this. We don't have $2 million to throw away. My suggestion is that we close the thing down, use the property for whatever we can on the property, the buildings or whatever, turn it into a walking track over there. You can do something else with it that doesn't eat us alive. Every time we turn around, it's costing us millions and millions of dollars. This is a piece of property that we paid $22 million for. $22 million. And me and Mr. Moss was just talking about it, and I think you said it was worth $3.7 million. Was that right? 3.7?
2.7, and we owe about
$2.7 million.
$12 million.
Even worse off than we were. So, I mean, there's got to be a way. I'm not saying that I'm a miracle guy at all. What I'm saying is, get off your butts and let's try to sell half of that property, use whatever we do. It needs to be busted up. It's nothing but a black hole over there we're throwing money in. And I'll tell you something else, Gary. If they'd give me that, I would have read it. I would have read it, and I wouldn't have signed off on it. And I got, I mean, right here, you signed off on it. So there ain't no backing out on that one.
6 other commissioners signed off on it too. But this
absolutely.
is all about me. This is all about me, isn't it, Bill?
You're my commissioner.
But you got a grudge with me.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. I'll tell you what, Mr. Smith, I've already called him and tell him what I thought about it. All you guys did the same thing. Y'all signed off on it. This attorney right here, y'all need to file a complaint with the Bar Association for what he did to y'all on this, because this is wrong. This is dead wrong. And y'all, of all things, you need to be reading what you sign and talking about it. Listen to somebody. I'm tired of bringing that golf course up time and time again, but this is $2 million. How can you justify losing $2 million? Even more, because they're going to come out ahead. We're not. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
The only comment that I would make as the chairman is the fact that I'm going to be silent because I know we've had many conversations in the last week. This board here has had many conversations since we found out about this probably a month ago. It's hinging right on the verge of potential litigation. And because of that, I would be very reluctant to make any statement as to how we got here and how we're going to get out of it. So, having said that, I yield the floor if anybody else would like to make a comment.
I'd like to see if Patrick would like to make a comment.
I'd be happy to. And I think, Mr. Chairman, I think that's a wise course to take. I would like to say, as all of you know, because we've discussed this before, the agreement that was entered into in 2011 between the county and the group operating the golf course now was not entered into when either I or your current management staff was in place, it violated the terms of your bond, of your financing. That agreement violated the tax-free provisions of your bonding, and it could not stand. You could not keep that agreement that was negotiated and entered into in 2011. The form of this current agreement, where you pay someone a fee, a management fee to operate, and you suffer the benefit of a profit or you suffer a loss, is what is required of you to engage in the tax-free financing that you got through the efforts of your finance director, which are saving you upwards of $3 or $4 million a year just in interest expenses. So the agreement that you have today that shifts all of the benefit and burden of profit or loss to the county is something you have to do if you want that tax-exempt financing. The 2011 agreement got through every level of review and management and got to the board, and the board approved it, and nobody noticed that it violated that provision, and your bonds at the time were at risk. Luckily for us, because of some of the little intricate provisions in the Internal Revenue Code, we caught the non-compliance a few months before we would have triggered the IRS penalties because of some of the IRS safe harbor provisions that are too complex for me to explain, much less right here today. But you had to do a new agreement. You didn't really have a choice. You had to do a new agreement, and the new agreement had to take the form of the risk of profit or loss falling on the county, not on the operator. And that's why you're where you are today. The business elements of the deal are certainly things that the management can work on, but the general structure of the deal, the fact that the risk of profit and risk of loss falls on the county, that is not something you can change. You are, in order to continue your tax-exempt financing, which is going to be the difference probably between a 1% interest rate and 4 or 5% interest rate, you have to maintain that provision of the agreement. So, yes, is there a risk? Absolutely there's risk. But there's also the risk of profit. But the IRS requires you to suffer that risk if you want the benefit of that lower interest rate. And I think it's important that everybody understand that's the reason the agreement is structured. The framework of the agreement is the way it is.
The agreement that Mr. Tony is holding up, is that different than the actual agreement between the county and the golf course? Or is
that is the current agreement between the county and the golf course, except for this one thing. Did we enter into that agreement by resolution? No, you entered into that agreement. Mr. Tony's correct. You entered into that agreement through the corporate entity called the Henry County Office Industrial Park. Those corporate entities are not uncommon in local government. Okay. They exist to allow you to engage. You entered into a management agreement. The Board of Commissioners entered into a management agreement with the Henry County Office Industrial Park, where you essentially said to the Henry County Office Industrial Park, manage this. And that is done because that's a requirement of these bonds as well. You have these intermediary companies, and Henry County, I think, has two. I think there was one, I don't know if it's still active or not, Mr. Arletta may recall, but there was one entered into when the jail was initially financed. I think it was for the jail. And that financing got reworked, and that entity no longer has to perform that intermediary function. But these financing deals that the county does that allows the county to take advantage of these tax-exempt tax rates and the lower rates, when it's a non-essential government function, you have to have those intermediaries.
The financing agreement is different than the agreement between the county and the Schlesingers, correct?
Yes, your financing agreement is with your bondholders.
So did all the commissioners sign the agreement between the county and the Schlesingers? I hear that we signed the financing agreement for the bond as a corporation in order to get that special financing. But who signed the actual agreement between the county and the Schlesingers?
As to what documents you individually, each one of you signed, each one of you would have signed 2 or 3 of the resolutions associated with the actual debt that was incurred, you each signed a resolution of the Henry County Office Industrial Park authorizing the chairman to actually sign that management agreement.
So the chairman
The
signed
chairman
the actual management
actually,
agreement.
under that resolution, signed that management agreement.
Okay.
That's, yeah. So what Mr. Tony showed you was the corporate resolution that went
For
along
the
with.
financing, but the
But-
actual
but-
management agreement was signed by the chairman alone.
The agreement itself, the resolution authorized that management agreement and a couple of other agreements, and they go together.
Now, did that actual agreement come to the Board of Commissioners for approval? Because I don't remember that agreement.
No, the
coming
board
before.
did not vote directly on the management agreement. What the board voted on was the operating agreement with the corporation.
What was the actual date of that agreement? When was that agreement signed?
Early July, I believe. I don't remember the exact dates. It was
All right.
early July. Y'all signed, a lot of the bond financing documents were signed in advance of the date the bond was approved.
My questions are answered.
Anybody else have any comment? Okay, next, the request to address the board, Mr. Steve Richmond called in, and he withdrew his request to speak tonight. Next, we'd recognize the county attorney to request by a occupational tax refund. Counsel.
John, I'm going to give you a brief description of what you're about to hear, and then I'll talk a little more about it after the applicant gives a presentation. Georgia law provides a taxpayer the right, if he or she believes that taxes were paid in error, to request that the Board of Commissioners refund those taxes paid in error. And you have a request before you, and I don't want to get the name of the company wrong. I believe it's Dolphin Shipping and Trading Incorporated has requested a refund of 3 years' worth of occupational taxes paid to the county. Occupational taxes in Henry County are paid based upon a company's gross receipts. And for the request before you is a request for a refund of the years 2011, 2012, and 2013. Occupational taxes paid by Dolphin Trading, they were in the amount of $8,329.09. The request is based upon, and I'll let the applicant, Ms. Behringer, explain it to you in a little more detail. The request is based upon their belief that because the revenues that they receive are the result of overseas shipping, that they are not required to pay the occupational tax based on those receipts. I will say, for the record, I disagree with that. I think that's an argument that lends itself towards personal property taxes as opposed to an occupational tax. An occupational tax is sort of the equivalent of a business license. That's how those are dealt with. Something else I need the board to be aware of is the Georgia law that allows for these refunds is OCGA 48-5-380, and it allows an applicant to make a request for taxes paid during the 3 years, for 3 years prior to the date the request was made. This request was made on December 28, 2015. The 2011 and the 2012 taxes were paid prior to 3 years, so I don't believe the board has authority, period, to grant a refund as to those taxes. The only portion of the taxes that the board has the authority to approve is the 2013 taxes in the amount of $8,329.09. It's my opinion, and I'll let you hear from the applicant, it's my opinion that those taxes were properly assessed. I know that's a lot of money, but it's my opinion that they were properly assessed and that the exemption that they're seeking is an exemption that applies, you probably have heard it as Freeport exemption. What they're claiming, I believe, is a Freeport exemption from inventory tax, not a business license exemption. But nonetheless, Ms. Behringer is here. I'll let her present. Yes, sir.
I am not at this point here. I don't know if the applicant's looking for a yes or no answer. I would not be prepared to make a yes or no answer because somebody other than myself needs to determine, maybe the tax assessor or ever who's that maybe we need to get them here to debate the issue. I'm not knowledgeable enough to debate it, and I don't think maybe we got a couple of board members.
You are not required to vote today. You are required to hear evidence, and you can vote at a later date. And
well, I don't think I would be prepared to vote at any time until we get the people that normally would make this assessment. Now, you being legal counsel, and if you said that you think that we don't need to pay this, then we could vote tonight not to pay it. Or if you said you think we need to pay it, then we would rely upon your
It's
counsel.
my opinion, it's my legal opinion that they are not entitled as a matter of law to this refund because these taxes.
For any of it, is that what you're saying?
For the 2011, 2012, I think that's beyond your authority because it's beyond the 3 years. For
So how about
2013, it's my opinion that the exemption that you will hear about applies to personal property tax, not to occupational tax. They're two different creatures.
Okay.
In other words, if I have a store, if I have a warehouse and I have a bunch of personal property, machines and engines or whatever it is, I have to pay tax on that personal property just like on real property. But if I'm going to be shipping that stuff out, if I receive it from out of state and ship it out of state, there's a creature of the law called a free port exemption. Basically, I'm just a port. I'm just taking it in and shipping it out. If I'm just a port, I don't have to pay property taxes, ad valorem taxes on that property. But there's nothing in our code for occupational taxes or in the state law that I'm aware of that exempts occupational tax fees based on how you make the money. Occupational taxes are based on your gross receipts, and it doesn't care where the money comes from. Even if a business owner receives a Freeport exemption, that Freeport exemption doesn't apply to their occupational tax license.
Okay.
So it's my opinion that they're not entitled to the refund.
Does anybody have any comments or questions? District 2?
I own a local business here in town, and I'm subject to both taxes. I'm familiar with both, because you have to fill personal property tax return. It's usually due around March 1st, and then for your assets that you have, and then you also have to file an occupational tax. And it annoys me, but it's just a cost of doing business. You do put your gross revenue, it's revenue of the company, unless you have an exemption for a profession, because maybe you're an attorney or a CPA. They have a professional exemption where you can pay a flat fee, but otherwise businesses are subject to it off of their gross revenue. So I'd at least like to hear her thoughts on it. We don't have to make a decision, but I feel comfortable enough from my own experience with filing both tax returns.
Anybody else have any comments or questions of council? If not, we'll recognize the applicant. If you'll come forward, state your name, please.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. My name's Angela Behringer. I'm CEO of Dolphin Shipping and Trading. We're an exporter of agricultural products. We've been located in Henry County for the past 20 years. And last year we moved to Hateville, Georgia. And in that move, I learned basically that our gross receipts cannot be considered in the calculation of our business license. And basically the code states that proceeds from the sales delivered to customers who are outside the state of Georgia at time of delivery are excluded in the calculation of this tax. He was referring to Freeport, and we don't have anything to do with that legislation. That is about inventory and goods being received into your warehouse. We're not a warehouse. We're a middleman. We don't have any inventory. And I can read the Georgia Code 48-13-7. And it's pretty clear. It says local governments levying occupational tax according to this code section shall comply with codes 4813-10 through 4813-13, except that gross receipts of a business or practitioner for purposes of this code section shall include only those gross receipts reasonably attributed to sales or services in the state. And I've gone through 2 different tax offices since our move, and they agree. So I'm a little surprised that he doesn't agree, because I've gone through the Hateville tax office and the Henry County tax office, and they didn't have any disagreement with my interpretation of the code. But a brief explanation of Our gross receipts are made up of products of apples and pears that we deliver to foreign customers in other countries. Most of the stuff we buy is off the West Coast, so it doesn't even touch Georgia. And a brief explanation of how we got here is historically we were assessed around $600 a year for our occupational tax. And then in 2010, I responded to a request from the Henry County Occupational Tax Office to recalculate our business license, and I reported our gross receipts. And in 2011, 12, and 13, we were assessed $8,329.09. This was a financial burden on our small business. We have 6 employees. It was a business started by my father in 1991, and it actually is more than our federal and state taxes during that period of time. We consulted 2 CPAs who confirmed that occupational taxes are assessed on gross receipt, and therefore I thought I owed it. And when we moved to Hateville last year in 2015, I learned of this code that we didn't owe it. And so I approached Henry County, and they informed me that I actually hadn't paid for 14 and 15. And they assessed us $115 in 2014 and 2015. And they also said to come before you in order to request a refund for overpayment. And I am asking an overpayment for 2011, 12, and 13 in the amount of $8,221.09 for each year, which is a total of $24,663.29. And I realize I'm familiar with the code that it has to be within 3 years, and I'm assuming you're right that you don't have the authority, but I'm asking that when y'all have this, when you consider your decision, that we just learned of the error last year, that there was no guidelines on what should be considered gross receipts. And after reaching out to professionals, the error still was not unearthed. And moreover, the spirit and fairness of this law, which is fairness in which the law is inherently written, and finally, the burden on our small business. And I have a copy of our bills, proof of payment, and a copy of the statute if required.
I believe those are, I have the same thing, and we'll certainly make them available to the board. By way of explanation, you heard one of these a few months ago from a company that sold, I think they sold food to prisons. It was a prison commissary thing. And that's where, and if you'll remember the discussion, it was a long time ago, you've heard a lot since then. But they reported a total amount of gross revenues of some massive amount because it's a national company. And their taxes were reduced down to the revenues that they actually earned here. And that's what that law is generated towards. If I'm a national company and I've got sales in Colorado and Arizona and all over the country, I have offices. I just happen to have an office here as well. When I report my gross sales, I report my gross sales here. I don't report the sales that my shop in Colorado and Arizona and all those places are making. That's where I think this law applies, is when I have locations elsewhere. Coca-Cola would pay its occupational tax on Georgia sales in Georgia, Alabama sales in Alabama. Coca-Cola's not paying occupational tax for its sales all over the country. But these sales all occurred the way they were reported here in Georgia. I don't know enough about the operations of this business. But if I'm handling internet sales, for instance, those are gross receipts here. And that's what makes it applicable here. If there was a location in another store or another state that was making sales, then that portion of the gross revenues would be pulled out. That's how I believe that law is applied. I don't know what Hateville does. I don't represent them. I think I'd be giving them contrary advice to what they've received. So, and if you want to hold your decision to another date, you simply move to do so, and you can render your decision. But the hearing will be over. You've heard all you'll hear. You could reserve your decision to another date.
I would suggest that we table it and give it careful and thoughtful attention. And that's what they've asked for. And needless to say, my opinion would be reflected the opinion of legal counsel, because if I'm not familiar with the law, Commissioner Preston obviously is familiar with it. I'm not familiar with it, so I would have to rely upon legal counsel or a CPA for somebody that knows that. So having said that, if somebody wanted to move to table it,
Before we table it, are we going to have, is staff directed to kind of look at the code sections, you know, that she had provided, offered to provide? Yeah.
My recommendation would be you provide Ms. Behringer an opportunity to present you with something as well, maybe in writing, so she has an opportunity if she wants to present you with some other code sections to present them to you as well. In the interest of fairness, she should be heard as well. Maybe give staff a deadline and give Ms. Behringer a deadline to produce to you whatever law they want you to look at.
I mean, kind of,
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing. I mean, because and I mean, I'd like to hear what staff has to say on it, because I think it is a unique thing, because it is, like my business, for instance, we deal with clients in 30 states, but we pay our occupational tax here. I mean, and it's so, but, I mean, I'd like to hear what staff had to say about it, because it is something at least working.
And this would come from the tax commissioner's office. That's the office that supervises.
If it's something that the opinion, because we don't know, we have several small business owners up here on the board. We don't, I mean, our job is not to try to squeeze as much from our business owners, because we appreciate our business owners. It's just that we want to give staff an opportunity to kind of look at that code section and make sure how it relates with everything. So thank you for bringing this forward.
And this is a fairly substantial amount of money. I mean, it's either $8,000 or $24,000, however you look at it. And the applicant's not without a remedy if she's dissatisfied with the decision this board makes. We have an entire court system, and the statute actually says if you don't like the decision you get here, you go to Superior Court. And this might be enough money to justify doing that if that's the direction she wants to go.
For the 3 years, for the prior, they don't have the authority to grant it if they studied it and they got it from the staff, and and given the light that it's, you know, maybe different than most businesses, do they not have the authority, or can they?
The law only allows a claim to be made for taxes paid within the past 3 years.
Okay.
And they only have the authority given to them by law.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. We have a motion to table District 4. Second, District 1. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same. Thank you. Next, we have a resolution of the Henry County Board of Commissioners appointing citizens to the Henry County Council on Aging Incorporated. Yield the floor to District 5.
Chairman, I would like to appoint Dr. P. Paulette Bragg to the Council on Aging.
We have a motion.
So,
Have a second, District 4. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. So moved. Under Transit, we have a resolution approving the FY 2017 Georgia Department of Transportation application package for 5311 Rural Transportation Program. Mr. Salter, good evening.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. Approval is requested for the FY 17 Georgia Department of Transportation application package for Henry County Transit pursuant to Section 5311 Rural Transportation. GDOT offers operating assistance to rural transit programs. Henry County has been a participant for the program for the last 26 years. Henry County will be eligible for reimbursement of up to $475,747 in operating assistance for FY 17. Local support in the amount of $475,747 is regular budgeted funds for the county's cost share of normal operations and represents the local match for GDOT funds. Henry County is also eligible to receive 10 replacement vehicles valued at $450,000 for a copay of $45,000.
Anybody have any comments or questions? Not, somebody move we adopt this resolution as published. Have a motion, District 1.
Second.
Second, District 4. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. So moved. Thank you.
Thank you.
DOT, we have a public hearing. Resolution abandoning a portion of public road known as Ferris Drive. Mr. Stroud. Yes, sir.
I actually performed the survey on this piece of property. I may be doing a legal description or something after it's abandoned, so I'm going to have to recuse myself.
Okay, we have a Commissioner for District 4, because he's a surveyor and he had work on this, is going to recuse himself. Mr. Stroud, welcome.
Sirs and Commissioners, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good. Tonight we have a request to abandon a portion of Ferris Drive as shown on the attached plat marked Exhibit A. The section of roadway requested to be abandoned is located between the western right-of-way of Westridge Industrial Boulevard and the property line that crosses Ferris Drive within the Georgia Power transmission line easement. The request is to abandon this section of roadway in order to assemble Plat Tract 3, 2, and 1 as a contiguous property for the purpose of placement of a warehouse distribution center, related parking areas as well. It's also need to note that all properties are currently zoned M1. Subsequent to the board's decision, if the abandonment is approved, the abandonment or closing of the roadway is contingent upon the developer or owner placing a gravel cul-de-sac north of the Georgia Power easement for public use, providing an easement that runs with the public turnaround as well. The abandonment has been publicly advertised in the Henry Herald on January 9th and 13th of 2016, and all the adjoining property owners have been notified by certified mail. It's the request of staff that you approve the abandonment of this section of Ferris Drive. Be glad to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions or comments? If not, this constitutes a public hearing. I'll open the floor up if anybody would like to be heard at this time for or against this portion of the public road known as Ferris Drive. So if you would, come to the podium, state your name. Good evening, Your Honor.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Gentlemen, my name is Alex Crumley, and I appeared before you back in December, I think it was, to get this 4.1 acre tract rezoned to light industrial, to put it with a larger tract so a warehouse could be built. And one of the conditions that your approval placed on that was that the portion of this road be abandoned. And so this is to follow up on that. And it is just the part of Ferris Road south of the power line. The property owner has other property out there and would have to have access to that. So that's why it's a partial abandonment. But this is to comply with the condition that you put on that rezoning. And we would ask that you approve the abandonment so we can proceed with the transaction to put the larger tract with that. It's a total of about 37 or 8 acres that will all be then zoned properly to build a warehouse.
Thank you. Anybody else like to be heard? Not seeing anyone or hearing anyone, I declare that the public hearing has been, requirement has been met. So I will yield the floor to any commissioner that would like to move in that direction to adopt the resolution.
I move to approve.
Have a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by District 2. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Go move. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a resolution approving a budget amendment transferring local maintenance improvement grant funds from the Henry County DOT to the Splash 4 Bill Gardner Parkway Resurfacing Project. Good evening.
Good evening again, sir and commissioners. Resolution number 15-255 was approved by the Henry County Board of Commissioners on July 21st of 2015, authorizing the chairman to sign the GDOT LMIG application for fiscal year 2016. Henry County Department of Transportation received approximately $1.5 million in LMIG funds to fund resurfacing projects. Bill Gardner Parkway was selected as the resurfacing project in Districts 1 and 2 as the road splits the districts. The construction of Bill Gardner Parkway was awarded to E.R. Snell Incorporated on September 15, 2005 per resolution number 15-300. The Bill Gardner Parkway project came in at a cost of $1,397,126, which required additional funding as the local maintenance improvement grant or LMIG funds available for District 1 and 2 were $603,712, leaving a balance of $793,414 to be funded from SPLOST 4 District 1 Bill Gardner Parkway Resurfacing Project SP 4157 and SP4 District 2 Bill Gardner Parkway Resurfacing Project Number SP4272. The OMIG funds for District 1 of $301,856 and District 2 of $301,856 need to be transferred from the Henry County Department of Transportation General Fund budget to the SPOS 4 project funds of SP 4157 in District 1 and SP 4272 in District 2. We recommend that you authorize the moving of this money from LMIG to SPOS to finalize payment on the project. Be glad to answer any questions.
Anybody have
Mr.
any comments or
Romero.
questions?
It's completed now.
The main part of the project is completed. They're still working on building the shoulders, but all the paving is completed, sir. Yes, sir, and the widening.
Let me ask you this. When we first started off, me and Commissioner Preston about this, it was roughly priced out at about $800,000, correct?
That's
roughly.
correct.
In the shoulder building and the extras, is what carried it almost 1.4.
That's correct. The additional shoulder building, the striping using thermal, RPMs, and actually putting it out for bid for a contractor to do it. That's why the price went up a little bit.
We did widen it. How much? About a foot on each
sir.
side?
About 1.5 feet on each side.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I was just going to comment. It sure was nice to drive over the railroad. Well, it used to be a railroad track, and it is no railroad track anymore.
It's gone. Yeah, it's a smooth
It's
transition
smooth.
now. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Does somebody move we adopt the resolution as published? Have a motion, District 1.
Second.
Second, District 2. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. So moved.
Thank you, sir.
Resolution award bid for the purchase of quarry aggregate for the Henry County Department of Transportation. Greetings.
Thank you again. Department of Transportation requires quarry aggregate for various county projects. Having a contract for this material allows quick access to the product without the necessity of bidding each time the product is required, and guarantees prices will remain firm for the contract period. This contract will replace the existing contract that happens to expire tomorrow, January 20th, 2016. Sealed bids were requested for various quarry stone items. Bid documents were sent via the Team Georgia Marketplace. We had one vendor respond to the invitation to bid, and the attached item price schedule is in your packet. DOT will be the primary user. However, it's important to note that this contract is available to all county departments that require the product. Funding for this product is allocated within the requesting department's budgets, and materials will be ordered as required for approved projects. It's staff's recommendation that the board authorize the approval of the new contract to Vulcan Materials. Be glad to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions? If not, does somebody move we approve the resolution as read?
So moved.
Have a motion, District 4. Second, District 3. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. So moved. Thank you. Authorization for a proposal for a local match of $100,000 towards the GO Transit Capital Program application.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I'm really excited about the potential of this project. The Board of Commissioners approved an agenda item resolution number 15-391 during the December 15, 2015 meeting for county staff to submit project applications to the State Road and Tollway Authority through the GO Transit Capital Program for the construction of a park and ride facility in the vicinity of Exit 221 Jonesboro Road. This facility would serve and be managed by the Georgia Regional Transportation Authority. As part of the GO application grant, it's stated that a greater total match, including all matching dollars regardless of source, will result in more consideration. A stronger hard match of funds and the inclusion of local matching dollars will be given greater consideration since it clearly demonstrates the local commitment to and the desire for the project. A hard match may be considered pledged money by the federal government, a developer, local government general funds, a special purpose local option sales tax, or other sources. The Henry County Department of Transportation recommends that the county provide a proposed local grant match in the amount of $100,000 in the application for a park and ride facility to be located near the Jonesboro Road I-75 interchange. A budget transfer of $100,000 is needed from Henry County Department of Transportation salary savings to the grant match account to accomplish this proposed local match for the Go Transit Capital Program application. It's our recommendation that you do authorize this budget transfer from salary savings in the Henry County DOT budget to the capital grant budget for the application as described. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Anybody got any questions? We
Yes,
got
sir.
one, I yield for District 1.
By investing this $100,000, it's a big possibility we could get up to $5 million.
Yes, sir. The application for the project is a $5 million grant application. So yes, sir. We're saying that a $100,000 investment on our end could net a $5 million grant for the construction of this park and ride lot.
I'll say that's a good swap. Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments or questions? Mr. Mallard, do you want to be recognized?
I do.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
If you recall, when we first brought this before you, there was a question and comments that there was no match required. And in fact, there is not. But as I started going through the grant, started recognizing how we could beef it up a little bit, you know, I've reached out to municipalities, I'm reaching out to the state, some state representatives for letters of support. This is an outstanding step. It's a small step in the right direction to deal with the transportation issues we've got here. So all in all, when we started looking at all the things to support it up, I got the team together and we decided, listen, I need to come up with cash because I can't come up with a like-in-kind type of commitment at this point. And we got together and we put this number together. We think it makes it a much stronger application. We're pretty confident in what we're doing. I appreciate your consideration on it, and I certainly want to express my appreciation to staff. A lot of people had to drop what they were doing to get this out. You know it's due on the 30th. And Mr. Chairman, I certainly want to appreciate yours. You're reaching out to the municipalities and getting those letters of support. We'll match that up and put it in the application with whatever support that we can get from our state legislature.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments or questions? If not, does somebody move we approve the resolution as published?
Move to approve.
Have a motion, District 3. Second, District 1. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, so moved. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. If I may, one other item, please, sir. We're having a public hearing or public information meeting on Thursday night here at our county administration building for our special tax allocation district program for our dams. Just want to invite any of you commissioners that are available to come out to that night. And our citizens as well. This will be the first of 2 meetings that we're having here at the county. The intent is to host a meeting closer up in Districts 4 and 5 later in February to make it a little more convenient for those citizens as well. But just wanted to make sure you're aware of that. It's going to be in Conference Room B here in our administration building. So I appreciate you letting me say that, and have a great evening.
Thank you so much. Approval of the minutes December the 1st of 2015 and also December the 15th of 2015. If somebody moved to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Have a motion, District 3. Second, District 1. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. We have the minutes published for January the 5th, 2016. If somebody move in that direction.
So moved.
We have a motion, District 3.
Second.
Second, District 1. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Chairman and Commissioner's comment. The Chair has no comments. I'll yield the floor to District 4.
Thanks, sir. Actually, I want to thank the young men and women who actually stuck it out and stayed through the entire meeting. It's kind of dry material, but I appreciate you guys sitting out and listening to us. This is your government at work. It's not romantic or anything. It's just us doing our thing. But I appreciate you guys staying out. It really means a lot, you guys coming out and seeing what we do. I also wanted to give a quick databoy to Henry County PD. We had an incident today where, I don't want to speak too much about it, an assailant shot at a Clayton County police officer and ran and got away and wrecked his car and hid. And Henry County K-9 unit came out and actually located the young man. No one was shot. No one was injured. And so I just want to thank Henry County PD for showing up and doing what they do, and just let them know we're here for you. So thank you.
Thank you. I yield the floor to District 1.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Nothing. I yield the floor to District 3.
Chairman, thanks Wade for talking about the special tax district set up. We hope to move forward with that project. The other thing is, this coming Thursday from 4 to 6, GDOT's having a meeting about the Elliott Bridge, so hopefully we'll get that thing moving pretty soon, but that's it, Chairman.
District 2.
I'd just like to welcome everybody to the groundbreaking we're going to have for the Hampton Senior Center on February 1st. Check out our county website and we'll have more details, but just want to make sure the citizens were very aware of what we had going forward. Thanks so much.
District 5.
Nothing for me, Chairman.
Next, we'll recognize the county manager. I understand you got an update on the ERP software project.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Board. Spoke to all of you at one time or other regarding some of the needs that have been on the back burner for a while, the deferrals, as I like to refer to them. And this is one that has come up as a troubling one that we're going to have to deal with in one way or the other. It appears that our architecture that supports our software and all the things that we're doing here in the building and around the agency is in a compromised position. We've deferred cost. We've actually hang on to some things that were actually archaic many years ago, and they're still working. But we're at a point now we're going to have to move forward one way or the other. IT department has scrambled together a couple of things of recent, and then the board actually moved about a year or so back with a contractor called Plant Moran to help us really develop what our needs would be for an enterprise resource program. This is the software that we use. It's going to be accounts payable, your finance, your planning and zoning, code enforcement, and those types of things. It's also going to support your internet and the intranet uses that we'll have in the hardware component of it. Well, it turns out that we may have gone too long, too far, and either our choices are going to be to spend approximately $600,000 maybe this year, and it might buy us a time for a year and a half to 2 years out. But at that point in time, that money would have been a sunk cost because it's essentially disposable. What we will be transitioning to at that point in time is a system that we're actually contemplating today. So I hate to call it, and I keep coming up with it. We've said that this is $600,000 of disposable money, which I don't like the sound of that. I don't even like the principle of saying it out loud. So tonight I'm asking the board to hear a report and understand more about what this ERP process is. At the end of the report, I'm going to have a couple of closing comments and I'll tell you where I think we need to be going, and I'll have a recommendation for the board. There's no vote for it tonight. This issue will be coming back before you in the next meeting. With that, we've got some very capable people who can walk us through this, and I will tell you that nothing about this is flashy, nothing is romantic as you put it, and Commissioner Prince, when you said things are dry, this is as dry as it gets. But it's an essential part of what we're doing, board, and I want you to look at this from a perspective that we're behind the 8 ball on this one. I'm trying to be more proactive on getting some of these things that have been delayed for a long time. I've done 2 of these transitions with the competing firms, and I've also have some experience with our contractor or advisor with Plant Moran. When I know what we're getting ready to get into, that pales to comparison to me of what happens if this system collapses altogether and the expenses we'd have there. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to I&T of our IT department, Mr. Floyd and Mr. Dobbs.
Which one are you, Andy? I'll be I. Mr. Chairman, board members, back in August of 2015, we were asked to bring in the outside consultant, Plant Moran, to start this evaluation for basically getting this ERP situation taken care of. Andy Dobbs, my operation manager, put together an elite team, and this is what we've had so far. We're going to give you an update on what we've got. We do want you to know there's 2 parts to this. We got an ERP software and the public safety software. We do want to kind of work these into conjunction. Enterprise software, of course, runs our back office functions, human resources, that kind of thing. Public safety is your CAD, computer-aided dispatch, mobile CAD, in-car, fire, jail, sheriff, all that kind of records keeping basically in the back. So there's really 2 projects, but it's kind of in the same vein here. This is what Plant Moran has started for us so far. We're in phase one still. Andy's been in contact with them every week working on this. Basically, what you see here is what they've completed up to starting phase two. So we're about 70% into their first part of this. The final steps of phase one will require an RFP from the purchasing department to go out to get an ERP software vendor for the Board of Commissioners for y'all's approval. Then a proposal will be presented to the board to approve the required ERP software and hardware and proceed to phase two, which is implementation. Let me jump to the next one. This is where I love the way this slide works out. In 1998 is when we signed the contract for the software we're still running right now. 1998. I know a lot of y'all in technology, that's ancient terms right now. In 2000, we did have a custom system built for the building department. 2007, we updated the AS400 hardware for more capacity. That's where we're sitting again right now with the 600,000. We're needing to upgrade that hardware again if we don't in order to run anything. So basically, since 1998 to 2006, we've had really little or no additional functionality added since then with the system we have now. Yesterday, basically, this is what we have now. This is what the demands in the local government requires. We need cross-functional information, citizens transparency, feedback, data analysis. We really don't have any of that now. We use more spreadsheets than we do anything. There's more Excel data flying around in there. There's really reports being generated off the system now. Data transparent to citizens, online engagement. Everybody wants to go online to do something. They don't really want to have to drive in here to do this kind of stuff. And that's where we really need to be today. Again, technology infrastructure in the middle. You got your finance, human resources on the outside, and everything else is going to flow around this. Your contract, your budget, your purchasing, vendors, payments. And then you got your outside stuff with your citizens, self-help, integration, that kind of thing. Am I missing anything, Andy?
Just that the outer ring there is really a lot of the newer innovations where you got citizen self-service. We don't really have a lot of that now. They have to walk into the county offices, whatever the various agency they're wanting to deal with, and the forward-thinking software companies now have citizen self-service portals on the internet. Employee self-service. Right now, if an employee wants to change their W-4, they've got to send a piece of paper to human resources, where before the new software has an employee self-service portal. They can go in there and change their deductions online if they want to, and enroll for the health care benefits online, do all that stuff online rather than on paper, and it's a lot more convenient. Vendor self-service. If you ever heard of such a thing, if a company wants to be a vendor of Henry County, sell stuff to Henry County, then they would actually go to the portal, register themselves, and then it would go through a workflow to the purchasing department for approval and final setup. Those kind of things, we don't have any of that today. The newer software packages have all of that, and of course integration with banking and credit cards and those kind of things. So that outer ring there is really all the new innovations that we would like to get with a new software package.
Now, of course, here's your timeline. As is what we have, where we want to go. We've got the initiation already started with gathered user requirements. That's what Plant Moran was doing, authorized in July, August of 2015. Moving forward through here, we want to RFP the ERP software, award the contract, and begin implementation. And then, of course, 2016 through 18, technology upgrades, workflow testing, training, implementing everything. That's where we're heading. Again, back where we were, where we really need to be. This is a 2-3 year project here. This is not something that is going to take just a couple of months to do.
While he's changing slides, we got to keep obviously the business running, all the departments running on the old one as we implement and test conversion, and then finally cut over to the new one, and it's a department-to-department process.
And it's very user-centric, too. Everybody's got a piece into this thing. The whole county's going to have parts of this. So now we're jumping over to the ERP side. Think about this. The same public safety, I'm sorry. The same server was purchased in 98 at the same time. So we're still running on ancient technology over in 911 area. All the record systems are stored on this old system. So we really need to get updated and moved on to the 21st century here. Again, the slide, Andy made a great point here. 98, we licensed. 2000, sheriff installed Police Central. And this is one of the biggest problems we have, disparaging systems. We have an AS400. We have a totally different system that tracks police database. Of course, we had to upgrade the hardware then. And then Fire has their own software. We have 4 different pieces of software running every department instead of one centralized system. Again, 1998 to 2016, we've had very little updates done to this system to add functionality. I know Don Ash had said he takes thousands of pages just to figure out when a ticket or a dispatch was sent from either McDonough or Stockbridge. It's just very, very user encumbered. You have to get in there and dig for this data. Today's system, you should be able to push a button and gather that report immediately. And that's what we're fighting now. Again, kind of the same vein, what we have, what we need to get to. I won't bother and read it out to you, but that's where we're at. You got anything on that, Andy?
Just that the records and integration and cooperation in the public safety arena, for example, in Henry County, we got 4 municipalities that we need to integrate law enforcement data, and with these disparate systems, it's tough to do. And so, as 911 would get a newer system, then as they dispatch different police departments, which they dispatch all the police departments, all the fire departments, then it would be the newer systems be better easier to integrate with whatever that Locust Grove or Hampton or McDonough or Stockbridge might have.
Again, we're doing the same roundabout. You got technology in the middle, emergency management, 911, and everything around it. E911, CAD dispatch, police RMS, fire RMS, ambulance, e-citations, mobile CAD, and the sheriff and jail management. All of this is tied in, and of course, you know, people want to be able to go online, maybe pay a ticket online, that kind of thing. So you got to have your customer interaction.
Yeah, up at the left on the outer ring again, that's a real innovation, the municipality integration, McDonough, Locust Grove, Hampton, Stockbridge, over to the upper right, mobile applications. So as the policemen and the sheriff deputies and the fire and ambulance personnel, if we can give them mobile software that ties right back into the 911 system, so that it's not all radio dispatch that can appear on their screens in the cars, then they can just hit while they're dealing with the situation that they were dispatched to. They can hit one button and say, "I'm here, I'm okay," or another button to say, "I need backup," without having to get to the radio, those kind of things. Then bottom left and right, courts integration. Obviously, law enforcement feeds the court system, and so these newer systems make it much easier to integrate with the court systems. And then, obviously, as Skip said earlier, we have 4 different systems for our public safety just at Henry County, not counting the municipalities. And so if we had one integrated system, 911, police, fire, EMS, sheriff, and jail be in one centralized system, then the data sharing there would be automatic.
All right. Again, phased deployment, public safety project initiation, and we have to gather requirements. We have not started this requirements gathering for the public safety side.
We're 6 months ahead on the ERP side, and so we want to get started on that public safety side in the next couple of months.
And of course, RFP, public safety software, award the contract, hopefully in 2016. Start your implementation 17-18, technology upgrades. There's hardware that's going to have to run the infrastructure in the back end, workflow testing and training. Again, what we have, what we need. And think this is probably the last slide.
Yeah.
Yes. Recommendation from Technology Services to have a single software vendor for the ERP and public safety. This will give us, Technology Services, a single contact for technology-related issues and give the user community a single point of contact for issues and training. Technology Services will have one common technology platform to support. And then, of course, let's see, Technology Services also recommends that RFP issued by Purchasing Department include both ERP and public safety software on the same RFP. I think that's a battle behind us and not in front of us. But anyway, include an option to stagger implementation and payment schedule for each project. Other than that, gentlemen, we appreciate your time. And yes, sir. Oh,
Finish your summary, and then I just had a question.
That was it. We wanted to make it quick. I know it's the end of the evening. Everybody's.
We got 3 more hours.
Oh.
How do you yield the floor to District 2?
I talked to Lyndon about this, our county manager, and I'm sure you made you guys aware. I work in an industry that's very technology, but also security required.
Yes.
And in the past, I used to have servers in each office, and then they backed up with each other, and then whenever software, either had updates or needed new software, we had to update it and everything. And now everything in my industry has moved to, the only thing on my servers are like Word documents and Excel spreadsheets, and they're even going away because we have Google Docs and Google Sheets.
Yes.
So we don't use servers anymore. Now I pay huge subscription fees every year and then I have a user ID and password, and I go and log in to the same software. It used to be on my servers, is now out on the internet, and they do the backups, they do the upgrades, everything. Everything is cloud-based now, and that seems to be where everything is moving towards. That way it gives you maximum flexibility from location. Sure. You don't have to buy all this hardware every 5 years, 10 years. Are there not, because I know every government's a little different, but if you look at, we have 50 states, and if you take the top 20, the largest counties in each state, I mean, there has to be there's not a viable provider who's offering turnkey cloud-based solutions for these type of things?
There are, and the ERP could be web-based. There's options on that. The problem with that on our side is you need a robust, redundant internet connection on that same problem. If your internet connection is not as great as it should be, and you go down, you basically just turn your software off. So there's some infrastructure issues we'll have to deal with that. Not that I'm against going toward the cloud. I'd love to see Office 365 in here. All our email out on that. We've all discussed that. We've sat down and had those kind of discussions. Yes, it's heading that direction now.
Is there anything, let me ask this question, because I know that when Mr. Bonner and I talked, he said there was multiple providers y'all were looking at and so forth. Are any of them, because I mean a lot of the same software that I had to have on the hardware side has now transitioned to the cloud, and it allowed, because when I hear $600,000 for the Band-Aid, I know you guys are going to give us an ask that's substantially larger than $600,000. Yes. So is there a lease? So if I'm going to have those sunk costs, is there not one of these providers, can it not be one of the, when you have the flow chart of doing the pros and cons for each one of them being that they are already have a cloud base, so that we are in the process of, as you said, the 21st century.
Yes.
Because I still remember when we had one of our budget crunches and we were trying to figure out how we gave pay raises and we were going to tier those pay raises. It all blew up when we brought up the green screen payroll system that didn't allow us to treat anybody any different, and you couldn't go in there and update it. Y'all probably remember that in 2013, I think, or it was ugly. Yeah. Yes. So this thing's a disaster. I'm just trying to figure out how we get ahead of it.
I agree.
In the future without having to unload a ton of money.
The major cost of what we will bring to the board is actually the software license cost. So you're going to have that whether you have it in the cloud or have it in local servers. And what we like to say in IT is we have our own Henry County cloud right now. And so we think we're doing it cost effectively, but if one of the software providers would quote us the cloud, we would look at that in a minute. In fact, we've talked to some departments and somewhere here tonight that we've kind of pushed them to go to the cloud with if they're standalone. For example, transit department is standalone. They don't have very touch points of their software with the regular county software. And we looked at the cloud, but it was actually a fair amount more expensive than the server we had that would run their software. And so sometimes it's better to go to the cloud, and sometimes it's not. And we just have to look at that.
Amortize the cost of the server and the backups and the updating the software and everything.
So the hardware is just getting much cheaper as the software, and the management's getting much more expensive.
Right.
But I like the option of being able to look at them. I made the commitment to be able to tell you about it, Mr. Preston. So we'll be looking at it in the next few steps of it.
And we love the option of the cloud. I mean, it's a great option. But anyway, here's where we are. Any other questions?
Well,
yes, sir.
I do want to make a comment just for citizens who are watching, actually, in speaking with the county manager, and just back me up here. We are at the end of our road.
Yes.
Is that correct? I mean, there is no more Band-Aids. There is no more just getting by. That's it.
On the old technology, we spent a few weekends upgrading it to the last piece we could put on there from a software standpoint. And we were mandated by the green screen software, on the hardware. There's two components to that. They actually do keep up the regulatory requirements for the tax tables, of course, and lately for the Affordable Health Care Act mandates. And they had a bunch of those coming down, and they were only putting them in their latest release. And we had to upgrade the operating system on the hardware, and it hit a ceiling. And the green screen software the operating system we could upgrade to was a final one on our hardware, and luckily the software vendor that we're using reached down to that level of we made it by the skin of our teeth, so to speak. We won't be able to upgrade again, ever, even if there's Affordable Health Care Act mandates next year.
We have no choice.
We're that close.
All right, I just wanted my constituents to understand that we're...
Yes. Just say 1998 and think about what we've dealt with over the years. And
I think we've got the good out of this one.
Yes.
Yeah, and what's the lifespan that we're looking at with this? I mean, what do we even know?
This software, the software vendors that would be probably be bidding on the RFP, the software would carry us out, because we're not then boxed in by old hardware, right?
Okay.
And so there'd be on kind of open on servers, cloud or local operating systems. As they grow, it'd be Windows operating systems. And now we're boxed in on older technology we're kind of in a box.
Yes.
On the old stuff.
Okay. To put it bluntly. Any other questions?
I told you I had some closing comments on this, and it is this: if that wasn't dry enough for you, it gets better. So, Commissioner Prince, in deference to you, this isn't the flashy thing. There's not going to be a ribbon cutting on it. What you're going to see is just a lot of angry employees who are having to implement this thing, because it is going to be arduous. So, but it's worth it. Just like any difficult thing, it's exactly what you get, and you're grateful on the other side when you forget about how hard it was to get there. So my next portion is that when I see you next at a board meeting, we'll have an agenda item on there, and I'm going to be asking the Board of County Commissioners to commit $2.5 million out of the general fund balance for the ERP expansion and going forward with the public safety side. So that's all I have on that, but that'll be discussions, and I'm sure y'all have questions for me as we're going along the next couple of weeks. But that concludes my report. I'm sorry, no it doesn't. I owe you an update on...
Another part about the update on the Henry County employee, unless any board member has a question related to the IT department. Haven't heard none. Please share an update with the Henry County Employee Health Clinic.
Well, the commissioners, where we've been at for the longest time, and that's been my fault, is we had some discrepancies in the contract that I didn't believe were in Henry County's favor on the initial contract that was sent to us. And y'all recall that we ended up stopping and closing the clinic up. I met with staff on a couple of occasions, and we tried to resolve those issues to be more favorable to Henry County and just try to clean it up. We've since received some responses back. I had a chance to read through them today. Mrs. Matthews went through it last week to try to see and connect, have all the questions that we ask at Henry County been resolved or answered by the vendor, and the actual is no. So I'm going to huddle back up with our crew, see what answers that we have that will be affect individual departments, and then we're going to meet with the principals of Cigna. They're going to fly down, and we'll pick it up from there. So my update is I finally did get it off the desk and could read it. I've got to huddle back up with staff and then schedule up. The next thing will be to have Cigna fly down, and we start working through the details, negotiating an agreement that I can bring back to you as representative of what we need for our residents and our employees.
Anybody else have any comments or questions about the clinic? Mr. County Attorney, you have any comments you'd like to make?
Nothing for a public session.
Okay. Upcoming meetings and events, February the 2nd, 9 a.m. is a regular meeting, and March the 1st, 9 a.m. is a regular meeting. The board has previously canceled the regular meeting scheduled for February the 16th at 6:30 p.m. That's been canceled because that's the Henry County System's winter break. We have on here to go in executive session. I know we have some pending litigation issues. And I understand we may have some acquisition of right-of-way.
We have pending litigation, pending and potential litigation, and real estate acquisition. That's correct.
Anybody else have any comments? Anything needs to be, okay?
I'd like to ask Mr. Bonner a question, if I might.
Yes, sir.
I've been getting emails and calls about potholes in the roads. Could you kind of give the citizens an update on where we stand on repairing them?
We've repaired a lot of them.
I know.
I hate to, Wade, did you have a number? Was 900?
The last update I had, we were over 1,200 total potholes.
Well, the recollection I had, we were over 900, and Mr. Stroud just now advises that we're well over 1,200, which does bring in an interesting segue. A couple of commissioners and I are going to be traveling down to Perry for American Public Works Association Equipment Expo, and I think it's time Henry County go ahead and invest in a potch, and it's called a potch truck, and it does all the things that you would need to repair a potch. It carries its tack, it carries a hot mix, it carries those things, so that when we go out there, when we make a repair, it really is a repair. When it's 23 degrees outside and you put some tack down and you put that asphalt and you start tamping it down, it's just like goo, and it probably comes up the first 3 or 4 cars that comes up. It's not a cost effective, and it's not a good repair to the infrastructure itself. So we're going to be looking at some other equipment. We do have some long-term needs that we need. I think of a piece of equipment that reduce our personnel costs and able to maintain our road system with these types of patches. So the rain is still, I think I told you early on, the rain that we had in November and December, we will still be feeling the effects of it when we get to April, May, and June. The water's still under the laments. I'm still seeing cracks in the road where you see our water coming out, the hydrology and the pumping action that's going to be going on. We're not out of this. You're going to be having a lot more of this just because of these rain events that we had over the holidays. So I expect more of it, and we need to find another solution to maintain these roads.
Well, Wade, we appreciate all your hard work. I mean, you know, there's a lot of them out there, and I know you're getting them as quick as you can. We appreciate it.
Somebody we move into executive session for acquisition of real estate pending and or potential litigation. He did. Motion District 4. Second District 3. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. We're going into executive session.